Dave here, new to you fishing. It's not a day for fishing, but that doesn't mean we can't make a fishing video. So today we're going to go through the fishing van and we're going to talk about what we bring on a beach surf fishing trip in Florida for either a couple hours or a day at the beach. And so there's some different combinations there that we use. So let's start going through all the gear. All right, let's start with a look inside the cooler. I keep bottles, plastic bottles of frozen water. There's a half gallon and a quart size filled. I've got my fish bites in there, which I do keep in the freezer as well, all ready to go. And then in the fridge, I keep salted dried shrimp. And then I pop those out, put those in the bag, throw it in the cooler, and that's what goes in the cooler. Now the cooler also has a two-function carrying strap. I can carry it by hand by holding the two straps, and then if I want to go shoulder mode, I pull one down. I've also got mounted to it a three spot rod holder, and that's very useful when setting up at the beach. Speaking of sand spikes, and by the way, I strap those together and carry those under the strap. The tension of the load helps keep those strapped down. So I bring 4 spikes. It might look like there's only 3, but I have one that's tucked, smaller diameter inside a larger diameter sand spike. So I actually have 4 sand spikes. So let's take a look at what that would look like when it's ready to roll. Okay, so here's the sand spikes. The tension from the strap holds them in there, so if I go shoulder mode, that's no problem, and hand carrying mode works just fine too. So let's keep going, take a look at the other primary elements that we use on a regular basis. I use a dry bag. This is a 30-liter dry bag. You can get them on Amazon. They're only like $30. And I think that's the ideal solution because I know a lot of people use backpacks or other tackle bags. I like the complete dry bag. You know, you can roll it up, snap it shut, and you know, if something happens, you're fully protected. On the outside of that, I have a microfiber towel for my hands, a little sanitizer if necessary, and then I also have a little ditty bag that I keep my glasses or my sunglasses, my phone, my keys, and usually a little snack in there as well, maybe a granola bar, and there's some new to you fishing stickers as well. Of course, you got to have those handy for giveaways. And what goes in the bag? So let's go through that now. All right, the items that are in my dry bag all the time are a pair of pliers, a fish handling towel. Of course, you know, you're supposed to not handle catch and release fish with your hands. You remove the slime, and that's not something you want to do. So a hand towel for that. Of course, also good for catfish. I also throw in an extra grocery bag, unused, and that's primarily for when you meet people on the beach and somebody needs a fish, you've got something you can give that to them. There's a selfie stick here in case I need to make an impromptu video, and as well I do have a fishing glove, so in case I get a toothy critter, I put that on, and that'll prevent any accidents or trips to the emergency room, hopefully. I do carry a pair of goggles. I've used those a couple of times when you want to go out and see what structure is out there in a new area. You gotta go for a little swim, and the goggles are helpful for that. Granola bar, that actually goes in the ditty bag. And I actually keep, these are kids wrist slappers. So I keep a set of these in my bottom of my bag. They're very good I think you know how I use them for taking my 2-piece rods and holding them together. These are very inexpensive when you buy the cheap ones on eBay, and people are amazed when they see me using them on my big rods, and then I have a couple that I can give them for their rods. Of course, you have your Batman, your Spider-Man, or Ariel, and some of the other characters. So those go in the bottom of the bag. So in addition to that, the only thing else that goes in the dry bag are 2 tackle boxes. So let's take a minute and go through what's in the 2 tackle boxes. This is tackle box number 1. This is my primary tackle that I take to the beach every day, every time, without fail. I try to make sure it's properly stocked before I get started for the day. Occasionally you forget stuff, but here's what's in it. So I've got some Croaker rigs, a couple extra Croaker rigs. I keep all my rods pre-rigged, and so these are 3 spares. A variety of Pompano rigs, in this case, probably half a dozen. And again, I keep my rods fully rigged before I go out, so it's not necessary to rig up when I get to the beach. I've got a little tape measure and de-hooker, custom made by my fishing friend Bruce. I keep weights in this section. These are weed limiting planers that you put on the end of your line, and then you hook your weight to that. If it's a weedy day, I use those. I typically use nothing but 4 ounce on my long rods that are bottom fishing. I'll show you in my backup what I have alternatively to that, but a variety of 3 4 ounce weights, because I typically fish with 3 rods out deep. I've got a pair of small scissors, a nice folding buck knife, and then a little stainless steel multi-tool. It's got some capabilities that I've had to use occasionally. I do keep a small bottle of reel oil, some various assorted hooks, if I have to change it up during the day for a different type of fishing. Here's some more hooks, some more terminal tackle. Primarily the reason to change would be is if you get into some live bait and you wanna change over to live bait fishing. In this section, I keep what are typically 2 ounce sinkers. There might be a 3 and a couple 1s in there. I use those in the first trough when bottom fishing for croaker. Here's some more terminal tackle for primarily for Pompano, but also croaker. There's some assorted hooks, some assorted colored beads, some assorted floats, may need to use those, and some swivels, etc. Then in the cast and retrieve area, one other thing, I do have a pre-tied with a leader, metal leader, live bait hook, ready to swap out on one of the rods if I need to do that. We've got a couple of metal spoons in the 1 ounce size range, and then I have the large 2 ounce spoons that I use at the end of my mackerel trees. So I think in one of my other videos you've seen me make mackerel trees. Here's a mackerel tree, and then the spoon goes at the end of that, and so I keep a couple extra spoons and a couple extra mackerel trees in this primary box ready to go. So that is what's in the primary box. Let's close that up, and that's ready to go into the dry bag now. I do have a backup box which has some other assorted things that I typically never open this box. It's there. At some point you get into snook or tarpon, you need to change up for some lesser used items. So there's some wire leader here. I have one emergency Pompano rig in case I get sharked off too many times. I've got one extra Pompano rig in my backup. We've got some bug repellent for no-see-ums. Of course, you got to have some new to you fishing business cards. And there's some swim baits and some plugs and things that could be used at the beach. There's a small, not a small, but a fairly large 1.5 ounce bucktail that could come in handy at some point, and a couple of extra sinkers, 4-ounce sinkers. So those 2 tackle boxes go into the dry bag, and then the dry bag is complete. So let's put the leaders back in here. Let's do that. So as you can see, we'll be well prepared for tomorrow morning's fishing trip. And then the dry bag just gets simply rolled and snapped. And by the way, this dry bag is a backpack too, so that's super nice. You just throw it on your back and leaves your hands and arms ready to carry the other gear. All right, so that's the dry bag. Every day, no matter where I'm going, what I'm going to do, that goes with me. So next up, I'm not going to make this a complete rod video, but and how my rods are set up, that's something we can probably do at another time. But this kind of setup is probably the maximum number of rods I can successfully and reasonably carry to the beach. There's a whiting croaker rod, there's a cast and retrieve rod. This is the whiting and croaker rod down at the bottom. It's a small 2000 size old school Gold Series Daiwa. We've got a 6000 Penn Battle 2, which is on a 9-foot rod, which is my primary cast and retrieve combo. And that's Jack's, Spanish Mackerel, Bluefish. Those are the 3 primary targets there. And then we've got 3 long rods, all 12 foot, 1 Penn, 1 offshore angler, and 1 Daiwa. And those all have either Daiwa or Penn Spin Fisher sealed reels on them. I use these urethane coated wire ties to keep the rods bundled together. That works great when carrying. 1 large one down here and then a smaller one up a little higher. And so you can you do have to watch out for hooks and make sure you don't hook yourself when you're grabbing or carrying. But with one hand, with those rods, you know, I can carry that 1,000 yards or more down a beach to get to where I need to get to. All right, last up, let's talk about the things that we might bring sometimes. So depending on the day, time, conditions, whether I'm going for a couple hours or an all day, there might be some other things I want to bring. If I'm going early morning, headlamp, I want to have that. So I do bring that occasionally. A box with some Sputniks in it. Sputniks are a pain in the butt to carry. I found that this small cardboard box does a fairly decent job at keeping them contained without poking through stuff. So that's my my solution. So if it's windy, but otherwise looks good for fishing, I will, or there's undertow, I will bring some Sputniks with me and utilize those. My theory is, you know, if a 4 ounce or a 4 ounce Sputnik doesn't hold, it's probably not comfortable to be out fishing, and I'll go do something else that day. All right. Then the other things that I'll bring with me are a sun bum umbrella if I'm going for all day on a sunny day. Want to get some shade. And then I may also bring with me a folding camp chair. So this is another Amazon $20 purchase. You know, it's got the aluminum legs, so you strap the seat on. In this case, it's got the feet that prevent the legs from sinking into the sand. So that is definitely a nice setup that if I'm going for an all day and I don't want to sit on my cooler the whole time when I'm resting, I'll use that folding camp chair. So those are the optional items I take to the beach. In the first load, let me show you another set of items that sometimes come in handy. Let's show you a couple more things that sit in the van all day, every day, and come out occasionally. So here's a cast net, and in addition to the cast net in this small bucket, I have a medium bucket that has a power bank and a bubbler, and then that sits in a larger bucket which has a little live bait bucket to it. So cast net in the medium bucket in the large bucket, and that can come out and be used when necessary. I've also got a pair of boots. Sometimes in January on a 40-degree morning, it's nice to have some boots. So I do have those available as necessary. I've also got a pair of white Crocs somewhere that do come in handy as well. All right, we're ready to continue. We got rid of the grackle who wanted to get in on today's video. So yes, I've got some other stuff here, a regular beach chair and a boogie board. Those are for beach days, not for fishing days. We've got the dry bag, the bucket, the chair and the boots. Then we've got the everyday stuff here, the cooler strapped down with the sand spikes, and then all the rods bundled together. Now I keep the 9-foot, my van is big enough that I don't break down my 9-foot rod. I also have an 8.5-foot one-piece Croaker rod. I don't break down either of those, but I do break down all the 12-footers into 2-piece, but I keep them fully rigged, and that makes it easy to get started when you get to your spot. All right, so this is one of the benefits of having the van available for fishing, is this kind of readiness and preparation. And then if I'm going with a fishing friend, it's pretty easy to fit their stuff in, and we hit the beach. You know, there was one other point that I forgot to touch on, and I should have. Some of you may have looked at all this gear and you may have said, well, why don't you just use a cart? And the answer is, I did used to have a cart, and I found that loading and unloading the cart, loading and unloading all the gear into the cart, pulling the cart across the dune through, you know, some of the swales, up and down any beach erosion, it's a lot of effort actually. And so what I decided to do was ditch the cart, downsize, and lighten up what I was bringing, and I have really no issue carrying the umbrella, the chair, the cooler, the sand spikes, the 5 rods. You know, I can carry that a mile, and there are a couple places that I fish where you do have to carry, you know, 1,000, 1,500 yards to get from the parking area to where you really want to be fishing. So you know, those days are it's hard to carry everything. So I do watch judiciously what I'm carrying, when, make sure I don't overburden myself and get myself tired out. Of course, then if you're catching another 12 or 15 pounds of fish, you got to factor that into account as well. And usually have to take a couple rest breaks back to the car if that's necessary. But if you've had a good day like that, it's usually worth it. All right? So I hope that helps, and I just wanted to touch on that point because some of you may have thought that was kind of an obvious solution. But been there, tried it, and this is what works for me. Now, maybe in another 10 years, I'll feel differently, but for right now, this is what I do. All right, so there you have it. If you have any questions or comments about this video, please message me, and I'll certainly get back to you. I hope you enjoyed and learned something helpful from this video. You know, it's not appropriate for everything here to be used anytime you go surf fishing anywhere, right? This is the central coast of on the Atlantic side of Florida. If you're on the Gulf side, it's something different. And if you're in the Carolinas, you need something different as well. But this is what we need here, and this is what I've adapted to over a couple of years of fishing 5 or 6 days a week. So I hope that puts it in perspective for you. So thanks a lot. Please like and subscribe. Bye now.